Yeah. Okay. So let's hop into it. So today's discussion is what I want my white friends to know about voting for Joe Biden. I voted early. We filled out the ballots at home and then we dropped them off at the register of deeds office or whatever the voting office was and signed the paper and said that, we turned in our ballots. So we didn't vote. We're not voting tomorrow. We didn't stand in the line to vote. We were very meticulous about getting our ballot done. So I voted, Dorian voted, my husband voted. So we all voted. And when it came down to voting for president, I voted for Joe Biden. And I don't have a problem saying that I voted for Joe Biden. I voted for him for a number of reasons. The biggest reason for me was that Kamala Harris would be the vice president, and the fact that she went to Howard, and the fact that we don't even get good funding for HBCUs, and the fact that we seeing this HBCU graduate go this far is amazing. I haven't always agreed with Kamala's politics. I haven't always agreed with the things that she's done, but I stand in solidarity with the idea that you can go to a HBCU, get educated, become a powerful person in the world and do good things. And Kamala has done some good things. So I'm excited about that. And I was proud to vote for Joe Biden because a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Kamala Harris. I also voted for Joe Biden because I think that Donald Trump is a little out there. He's out there. He's his decision. He's funny. I do enjoy watching him on TV. I have to say that y'all may not like that statement, but in all actuality, he has definitely been the easiest to watch. I can watch him for long amounts of time and never get bored. You can never get bored when you're watching Donald Trump. But the other piece of that is, though, I think he's dangerous, and I am not the biggest fan of his. And so when it came down to the two people to vote for, I voted for Joe Biden. And so I want my white friends to know, y'all, I had y'all back. I voted for Joe Biden. I voted for Kamala. But one of the reasons I felt a hesitation was that I had this inkling that, or I have this thing that I see that my white liberal friends do that is so dangerous, and it scares me. And this is what it is. Okay. So yes, Donald Trump, horrible president. Biden will be a better president, but both of them are racist. They're both racist. And if my white friends are going to start to tell me that one is more racist than the other, if they're going to tell me that one has a better slant for Black people than the other, what I fear that it will do is undo all this good work we've been doing in community together. So we've been in community together. We've been building together. We've been looking at the racist policies in our communities. We've been seeing this long stretch of work. And what I don't want to happen is for people to go to the polls tomorrow and vote for Joe Biden and think that racism is over because Trump is not in office. And I think the way that people are saying things like one is going to look out for Black people better than the other, neither one of these men have looked out for Black people. Right? And I'll vote for Joe Biden because I know it's what's best for myself and for my liberal friends, but it's not what's best for me because I'm a Black woman. They are both equally dangerous for me as a Black woman. And so when we start to do this idea of saying one is better than the other, one is worse than the other when it comes to racism, it feels like you're just kind of panhandling for my vote, right? The complexity of being a Black woman in America is for me to fully understand the complexity of that, meaning that I have to vote for things and I have to separate it from being a Black woman, because if I had to choose, most of the presidents have been racist. Right? Most of the presidents who have created policies that hold back races of people. So I have to live with that complexity. And then I still have to vote my choice and try to vote what's best for my community. And that's the complexity of me voting as a Black woman and as a white liberal friend. For you to say something like, oh, don't equate these two, both of these people, one's better. When you start doing that, when you can't look me in my face and admit to me, Aisha, you're right. They're both racist, and I promise you we'll cultivate better leaders. And that the next 4 years, the election won't be like this because we are truly awakened and conscious to the situation at hand, and we want to do something to change it. That's more of what I'm looking for when I remind you that both of these candidates are racist. Not for you to try to sell me a vote. I'm reminding you that our work isn't done. I'm reminding you that whoever is president is not the person who is following black people around in the stores and putting their knees on black people's necks, and who are like the racist things that we are fighting. Having Joe Biden in office is not going to change that, and we have to watch the things that he write because he is known to write some racist policies. And I think that should be an open conversation that I should be able to have with my white friends. And I think it's kind of like fear. Like it's fear. It's fear that we're going to call out the fact that we're all sort of just performing activism. And what I mean by that is we're like, well, I went to vote, so now things are going to be better. But that's not how things shift and change. That is a fantasy to think that you would go in, you would vote a new person in, and the racist structures and policies and systems would fall. Like, no, like neither is least racist than the other. One is a better candidate than the other. However, they're both racist. And that we have to continue to do that work. We have to continue to unpack these policies. We have to continue to watch. As Silas Perry used to say, you better watch. Like, we have to continue to do those things. Our work is not done. Getting a new president, having a black vice president, doesn't mean those things. Doesn't mean those things aren't there. Like, they're racist, and that's just a fact, unfortunately. Calling that out and having a real conversation about that. When I talked to my dad about it as a Democrat, he's a true, strong Democrat. He was like, let's just get him out of there. We'll talk about the rest later. And so for me, it's later. Like, let's talk about it. I voted for Joe Biden, and he's still a racist. I remember what he did to Anita Hill. I understand those policies that he wrote, and I know that, and we have to talk about that. That's how we heal our communities. That's how we have these like forthright conversations. You asked me to vote for Joe Biden. You said that he was going to be great for us. Now I need to tell you that he is still a racist. And you need to tell me, like, I hear that, and these are the things that we're going to do. But please don't come to me telling me, well, he ain't better than Donald Trump, because that suggests to me that, like, I deserve to be governed by a racist. That says to me that there's room in the policy and the procedure of how we want to do things in our community to uphold certain types of racism and not other types of racisms. So we don't want to do that in our community. What we want to do is have honest conversations. We know there's a lot of work to be done. We know that tomorrow, those of us who didn't go out and vote via absentee voting or early voting or whatever, you got to get out and go vote tomorrow, and you got to vote in for Joe Biden. But what we as Black people deserve in turn is a true conversation about what does it mean for us to have another 4 years with a racist president? Because y'all woke now. Like, the country is so conscious now. Y'all get it. So if y'all get it, then the first step of getting it is understanding both of those men are racist. And that I'm going to wake up, and whether your health care is better, right? Whether your health care is better, whether your taxes are not raised, I, as your Black friend, I, as the Black woman, your neighbor, I am still under a racist president. And it is really important for me to be able to voice that to you now, and that I get this sense and feeling that you hear me, because we're about to have a rough ride. Tomorrow is going to be hard for everybody. It's going to be unsafe. I read somewhere that there were like state troopers descending down on, or some military descending down on the White House. Like, it's about to be bad. And if I can't just tell you that both of these men are racist, what kind of real conversations can we have? What kind of healing can happen in our community if I can't look at my neighbor and say both of these people create racist policies, say racist things to black people, and if you can't agree with that, then how are we supposed to build a community together? How are we supposed to move forward? If I can't bring that to you as a cause of concern after I have voted for Joe Biden, as you asked me to do. So there's the piece, right? This is where the healing begins and the unity begins. And I need to tell y'all, we still gonna be under a racist president. And I need to tell y'all that we did our part and that no matter what happens tomorrow, we're still gonna be under a racist president. Like, that's the fact. That's what it means. That's the truth. You might not like it. You might not want to hear it. But the question I have to you is, are you pacifying yourself with this idea that you went out and voted for somebody that's less racist so that you wouldn't have to confront and do the anti-racism work? Do you realize that being able to measure racism is a privilege? Because as a black woman, all racism leads to my oppression. Some of it I can't stomach better than others. Like, I can't stomach racism. Perhaps if it wasn't happening to me, I could measure it and say, oh, well, this one I can stomach a little bit better than that one. So when you say things like one is least racist, think about it in terms of it being a privilege to think that way. Think about it in terms that this is my life and my son's life and my husband's life. And so I need you to know, as my neighbor, like, whoever we vote for, they're still going to be racist. And that we are just performing activism when we go and vote, because the Electoral College is going to vote. But we hope to sway them. So we do our activism by going out and we vote. But we don't really have the last say. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's like we are all we have. And for me, it's more about the community and the people that I have to be in community with, and the resources that come from that community, and the upliftment and the love that comes from that community means more to me than who is president. Because right now, the next 4 years, whoever wins, we're going to be under a racist president. And his policies, procedures, laws, the things he's done before that show us that. And that if this country is in some type of post-George Floyd consciousness, then we can have a conversation about the idea that our president is racist. Does that make sense? Or am I just tripping?